Welcome to Real Talk. I am your host, Paul Britton, and I am here with the godfather of the show. It is Sergio Barrera. Sergio!
Paul, how's it going?
I'm so happy to have
I
you
feel
here,
like
my
we were
man.
just here.
Yeah,
It
we
feels,
were. Yeah, we were. It wasn't too long ago.
yeah.
We were talking about, oh, crap. ISS. We were
ISS, yeah.
talking about ISS. And here we are,
Yeah.
doing 2 more movies because you said you would, and I didn't even twist your arm or anything.
You didn't coerce me.
I just said, hey, do you think you're gonna go see Argylle? And you were like, yeah, I actually do want to see
Yeah.
that one. I was like, okay, well, hey, doors open. And then you sent me, I didn't even you sent me a thing saying, are you going to go do this one? And I was like, if you're going to watch it, I will watch
Yeah.
it. And then you were like, yeah.
I have to ask you, had you thought to see that movie?
I did. I had.
Okay. All right.
The thing was, I was like, if I'm gonna have Sergio on for Argylle,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm necessarily gonna want to do the other one. Like there were a couple of streamers that came out. I didn't see either one, and I was like, I'll just do one of the streamers. But then when you brought it up, I was like, good. I would much rather see this.
Excellent. I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah. So, anyway, we're here to review movies. We're doing The Promised Land and Argylle. I didn't even ask, which one do you want to do first? I just figured we'd do The Promised Land first, but
that feels good. I think that's kind of the best way to start because if ever there are 2 decidedly different films,
these are
the 2.
I'm glad I didn't try to do a double feature one after the other because it would have been weird.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's weird enough talking about them. So, The Promised Land stars Mads Mikkelsen, who American audiences would know from a bunch of movies, including but not limited to The Bad Guy in Casino Royale, the sort of father in Jyn Erso's father in Rogue One. There's other stuff that's not.
He played Hannibal in the TV series.
Thank you, Hannibal in the TV series.
He's that familiar face that people go, "Hey, it's that guy."
Yeah. And it's that Danish guy. Because he is from Denmark, and this movie, The Promised Land, he's been around forever, by the way, like literally forever. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they tapped him for Casino Royale, and it was like, oh wait, this guy's awesome. Let's have him in things in the United States. And this was Denmark's submission for Best International Feature this year. It did not make the finalist, but it did make the short list. So what they do is all the countries submit, and then a committee, I don't know who that is, goes through the international, goes through all the submissions and picks 15. And so basically, so that when people are voting for their nominees, they are voting from a list of 15, and then the winner, and then they take the top 5 in that and pick the winner. This one didn't make the final 5.
That must mean the other ones are great then.
All right. So coming in hot, Sergio's telling you he liked this movie. Okay. So this movie, I like the title of this movie. The title of this movie has nothing to do with like any biblical anything. It's
not at all.
It's just that this guy was promised land, and so the biblical nature of it. It obviously is sort of like a hidden undercarrying theme of just sort of sacrifice and that sort of thing. But
sure. Now you do know that the Danish title in which this movie that was originally named.
I mean, no, I don't know.
Okay, so the Danish name of the film is Bastarden. I don't know how the pronunciation is. Basically translates to the bastard.
Oh,
okay. So that was the Danish title of this movie, and so I can see why perhaps there was the change in title, but the word is spelled. It's Bastarden.
Yeah. Oh, yep, there it is.
And again, it translates to the bastard, which we find out about him.
Yeah.
In the film.
Yeah.
It's
all the good guys in this movie are basically illegitimate children of somebody.
Sure. No, seriously. If I may, Paul, I wanted to start with why I was drawn to this film.
Okay, sure.
And it was one of the things that as soon as I read the blurb, and again, for me, movies here recently are a rare thing.
Yeah.
I don't go as often as I used to.
Yeah.
I'm kind of finding the way back to it.
Okay.
But when I read the blurb, I could not resist it because number
Okay.
one, I'm a big Mads Mikkelsen fan
Sure.
for a long time.
Yeah.
But it was the story of here's this man who is seeking a place for himself.
Yeah.
And there's this, basically the blurb was that, and I'm over paraphrasing. Basically, man seeks place for himself, and he has to fight this rich, overlord,
Yep.
guy, and that was enough to get me there. And then I was like, oh, this is a foreign film, duh, subtitles and all.
Yeah. For sure.
And it was I needed to see it. I was just, something drew me to it, and
Okay.
I really was excited when you were agreeable to the notion of,
sure.
of us talking about it. So
yeah,
I was not disappointed, Paul.
It's jam-packed.
It is.
Here's the other thing about this movie that I suspected going in, and then obviously got confirmation shortly thereafter. It's a true story.
Oh yeah,
based on a true story.
Based on a true story. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't. I probably should have known that.
Yeah, and I'm really, really curious if this is something where it's Paul Revere. Everybody in the United States knows the story of Paul Revere, but does anybody outside of the United States give a shit about Paul Revere? I'm probably guessing not. I'm probably guessing that Paul Revere has fallen off of the international curriculum in other countries. But George Washington, they're gonna fucking know.
Exactly,
they're gonna know George Washington. I'm wondering if this guy is famous for Denmark kind of thing, where it's people know, who Ludwig Kalen is. And they know
maybe.
And they know who Anne Barbara is, and it's just I don't know, and I the romantic in me hopes that they do.
No, that would be great. But I came out of it feeling like, okay, so I don't know enough of the history of the number one. I didn't realize it was based on. I should have, given how the movie it shows you what happened to him.
Yeah.
But the way I pictured the ending, and I won't spoil it, but because I really want people to see this film.
Yeah.
It felt like, oh, so this could very well be like a mythology or a tale that is told, because there is so much romance in it, but it's not overt. This is more about hardship and struggle and class warfare and so many themes. But the way that the film itself ends, you see that this is a man who, because the title speaks of a place, but it's also about the struggle he goes through to achieve a place in life as someone who he serves in the military and yet is still viewed as this lowly individual. He talks about it. It took me 25 years to become a captain.
Right.
Nothing has come easy to this man, because we learn that he is indeed a bastard child. And so,
and it takes place in, I think the opening is 1755, if I remember correctly. So it's the middle of the 1700s. Life ain't easy.
Not at all.
And it's a time when, oh, by the way, it's really important that your mother and father were married.
No kidding. And he's choosing to request a plot of land from the king that, in the minds of everyone else, and this is central to the plot of the movie, is unfarmable. There's nothing to be had there.
Yeah.
And that sets the stage for, this man's journey.
Right. And let's not, he's not being, and the important thing is, he's not even being given the land. All he's being given is permission to go build a house and try to grow stuff in the most inhospitable land in Denmark. The heath is, and it's just all heather and rocks and sand. That's all it is. And but he
outlaws.
And outlaws.
As well.
Yeah.
Can we
Tartars.
talk for a second,
Yeah,
Paul, about what that lends to in terms of cinematography for
yeah,
this film?
it's
I
stark.
mean,
It is
oh my,
just
yeah,
wide
but
open and
beautifully so.
yeah, for
You
sure,
know,
for sure,
it's
for sure.
just, oh my gosh,
It very much feels like a western. Is really what it feels like.
yeah,
It's like the Danish version of a western. And it turns out the political aspect of it that I found most interesting was that a local landowner would actually say, yeah, you know what, actually that's my land, it's not the king's land, and the king wouldn't just come in and be like, hey, fuck you, guy, and that, like,
right,
do something really terrible to that guy for supposing he could possibly own land above the king. Like,
yeah,
by the way, the bad guy, if you go to if you go to the movie's IMDb, the all of the cast has pictures except for the guy who plays the bad guy. I'm going to butcher his name. Simon Beneberg, and he plays Frederick de Schinkel,
the shingle,
and
yeah,
Deschnickel.
the shingle
It's
has to be the
very
shingle, yeah,
important. It's very
yeah, yeah,
important that Deschnickel. Um, and this guy is amazing. He is an
yeah.
absolute treasure in this movie. Like, he's like, I love Mads Mikkelsen. I mean, he's doing super Mads Mikkelsen-y things,
Oh yeah,
and this guy is just like coming in
chewing
from
the
the
scenery,
top ropes,
yeah,
uh,
seriously,
flying in and just absolutely tearing every scene
yeah.
apart with his teeth.
You have
And
no doubt how you're supposed to feel about this guy.
no doubt how you're supposed to feel, and also no doubt that this guy, like, is getting direction more because
Yeah,
there's no way, like,
yeah,
he's walking in and sitting across from Mads Mikkelsen and not doing this without, like, some instruction to do so. I
yeah.
mean, the guy doesn't even have a picture in IMDb, like, so.
Yeah, no, good point. Good point. And I that's one of the things that for me stood out, in what could very well have been all the way through a quiet film,
Yeah,
in the way in which, I mean, if you think about every other character's dialogue, every other character's interaction,
yeah,
there's a quiet that dominates this film. But
yes,
then every time we see DeShinkle, it's chaos, and he says that.
yeah, he
He's
is, yeah.
and I the
His
moment I said it, I was
speeches
like,
are
that was
amazing.
yeah. It's just, oh my gosh. I sent you one word when I left the theater. Do you
Yeah.
remember what it was?
Oh, I don't.
I just
Tell me.
said brilliant.
Yeah.
So I could not wait
Oh,
for tonight after I'd
yeah.
seen this film.
Yeah, it just absolutely fascinating. And one of the things that you mentioned, like, just the quiet of the film, this movie would totally work if the only foe in the whole movie were the elements. If
Yeah.
all he had to battle against were the elements,
Oh,
that is
sure.
still an absolutely captivating, interesting movie. Just because, as you mentioned, of how cinematic those elements are, and
Yeah.
just how vast and how difficult. I mean, it'd be a short movie.
Yeah.
It's a 2-hour movie. You could get 80 minutes out of what I'm talking about,
Sure,
but
sure.
they add so much. They add so many layers. you know uh so he can't find workers, and so he takes on this husband and wife who are on the run from Dishninkel.
Hmm.
You know, the bandits, you know taters, but are like, back in the day they used to be called tartars, but I believe now they're just called tatars. I don't know how to
I don't
pronounce
know
it
enough of the
properly, but
history. Yeah.
anyway, and he basically, derogatory term alert, I am sorry,
Sure.
but, like, gypsies, they're basically gypsies, and
Yeah.
and he, like, they don't even like the young, dark colored member of their group, and so,
Hmm.
like, she runs away and joins them and becomes the orphan kid. It's just, and all of that just absolutely works. I don't it
Yeah.
It's just a whole lot of movie that really, really works.
Right. I mean, there's two or three, you know, storylines that are happening throughout the course of this film, which, you and I often talk about, what pieces of this could have been, left out.
Yeah.
I don't believe very much that any of those stories would have, I think they all add value, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because again, you're learning so much about the time and that this is filmed in, and the way in which different levels of society are viewed, and the ignorant fear that some people have of the child, and just there's and everything that you see happen feeds the reaction of both Caitlin, the captain, and also how he then reacts to the complete and utter just chaos that Dashinkle brings into his life. I mean, everything feeds into that.
Yeah.
And you're seeing a man who just can't get ahead, and the struggle that he goes to, to try to reach some semblance of peace in his life.
Yeah, the one thing I could have done without is bad decisions by Kalen. He makes one too many blatantly, obviously bad decisions, and at some point it's just kind of like, okay, I understand he's just a dumb guy and he makes dumb decisions, but I felt like they drove that point home two bad decisions ago.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, this is a guy who, to use the term, he's punching above his weight class. I mean, he has in his mind this idea of what should be his, and he knows that because no one else is trying to go settle the Heath, because everyone that's tried has been met with utter failure. Right. And so he's conjured up this notion in his mind that he'll be the one that meets with success.
Right.
So much so that he forgets that where he lies in the world of class and such is already going to hold him down automatically.
Right. And even if he does accomplish something, they are going to find a way to not recognize it to its fullest and not give him total credit. Right. And so really, don't become a class traitor like that. That's the message of the movie. The number one message of the movie is just don't. Come on, people, don't
stay
be
in your lane.
Traitor. Yeah.
Which is
not even stay in your lane, but support the people that are in your lane with you.
Sure, that's a better way to put it.
We are not here to run each other over and get by each. We're all here to drive along and find the bits of happiness that we can. And hang on to that.
I'm curious to ask you, did the resolution of Dashinkle, did it catch you off guard? The suddenness with which it happened?
So, within the context of the movie, just to kind of bring there is a major so there's a lot of action around a 6 to 9 month period. Yeah. And then there's a huge fast forward 15 years, we'll say. They don't actually tell us exactly what it is, but we'll say 15 years. And the resolution is super fast and meant to be extremely satisfying. Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know. And part of it is because because like I said before, he just makes one too many bad decisions, and I just feel like I just wish he had made a better decision so the movie could have had a happy, satisfying resolution on its own without needing sort of like a 10-minute coda that is like, oh God, thank God. Yeah. I liked it. I liked it. I don't know. Yeah, it was good, but it felt almost unnecessary, but necessary because of what they did to the character.
Right. Yeah, and that goes for not just Dashinkle, but also the story of what was her name?
And Barbara.
Well, yes, her, but the child. The child as well.
Oh my goodness!
And again, it's not any sort of beef with the film. I was just like, whoa, there was a pacing that was consistent throughout, and then that last act,
it does not have
it consisted of, like, I believe what I would call 3 separate acts, or three items within the third act. That each were very important.
Yeah.
But yeah, just sort of, wow, we rushed. We got to the finish line. All of a sudden we were done. So
yeah, it's a coda. It's the classic sense of a coda.
Sure.
And in that, they really, like you said, I mean, they really like, we need to bang these three things out real fast and just shut her down.
Yeah.
Which I only because it was a movie that I felt like needed the kind of ending that they give you.
Yeah.
That I'm happy they did it. Obviously, my guess is they were also trying to be more historically accurate type of thing with the, with Anne Barbara,
Sure.
and that sort of thing. So,
yeah. Very interesting film.
Hey, here on Real Talk, we do tacos instead of stars or thumbs or anything like that. You give it 0 to 5 tacos. If you like it, you add a little bit of extra. Instead of giving half a taco, you add some guac, because nobody eats a half a fucking taco. So, Sergio, where do you land on The Promised Land?
The Promised Land. This film for me, knowing that, because it wasn't until after you and I spoke that I was like, oh, this was a film from 2023. So, I will say that it's probably one of my favorite films of last year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I absolutely loved it. I'm it's going to be 4 tacos plus guac for me. It's not, it doesn't quite hit the level of 5, but it is one I'll revisit for sure. I just think that it does everything it can to create a mood and tell a story. Mickelson is fantastic, as he always is.
Yeah.
But like you said, the gentleman who played the Shingle just tore the house down.
Jesus, I just want him in something here in the States.
More, yeah.
Like, who the hell is this guy? Because
right.
I hope he's English. That's what
it's just, It's for me just a very well put together film that hit every mark, and again, there's pacing issues, there's elements of it that weren't 100%. But yeah, four tasty tacos with great guac for me.
I'm going 4 tacos. Really good. It really is a wonderful film. I hope people, as you were saying, I hope people go out and find it in theaters.
Yeah.
If you don't find it in theaters, I hope you seek it out on whatever streaming service you rent from. It's 100% worthy of the time. It's just a great movie. By the way, I do want to say, Sergio, 2023 was an absolute ridiculous banger year for movies, and you have a lot to catch up on for amazing movies. Because
I'm sure.
I literally on my letterbox, I think I have 8 movies that are 5-star from 2023.
Oh
yeah. Like, send
me that list.
It's just absurd. All right. The next movie we're doing is from the dude who made the Kingsman series. It is something that everybody has seen an ad for. It's Argylle.
Yeah, seriously.
You cannot have watched anything, whether it be a streaming service or a sporting event or gone to a movie, and you have seen a commercial for Argylle. So everybody who's on here right now knows where we're coming from on this one.
They should. Like you said, if they've been on anything, this movie was heavily marketed. So.
Heavily marketed. Did not perform as though it was, though.
I didn't think it would. I didn't think it would.
Yeah. I hoped it would, just because I like when movies do well. But sometimes it just that doesn't that doesn't necessarily always play out. And I mean, look, I'm gonna do a mega big time spoiler alert on this one. This is not a good movie, but it is a super fun movie.
It's very fun. Yes. Indeed.
And I think our time together has indicated that you and I are nothing if not supporters of fun movies.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, Susan hops in and says, "Even I know about it," and that's saying something. Yeah, that is correct, Susan.
Well, and you'll be happy to know she and I, we actually saw it together this past Sunday.
Oh, okay.
And so it's the first movie we'd been to in a long, probably since The Gentleman.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but no, this movie, and I'm glad to hear you say that you found it super fun, Paul, because one of the things I do, this is a confession moment for me.
Sure.
There are times when I watch a movie and I try to predict what will Paul not like about this movie.
Okay.
You know,
sure.
But I'm glad you said super fun, because you have got to completely disconnect yourself from any form of like reality
out
in order for this film to be fun.
Yeah.
Okay. And in the tradition of Matthew Vaughn's films, the Kingsman films,
yes,
it fits right in his wheelhouse of what he likes to do in film, because it is just fun. It's silly, it's fun, it's so many things that other people would go, oh brother, I just love about this movie.
Yeah, no, I agree. But there are other things about this movie that I am with those people and saying, oh brother.
No, absolutely. Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But it didn't take away my enjoyment of the entire experience.
It didn't. So it's funny because I really like the Kingsman movies. Okay,
I
so
do too.
like I think they're fantastic. Like they are a prime example of what I look for in modern sort of action films.
Sure.
And so that was what I was going in with. My hope and expectation, and why I was hoping it would do well, and was I want more of those movies. I want more movies like that. And, look, just to be fair to the Kingsman movies, this doesn't live up to those. Like, it just doesn't, in my mind.
Yeah. I don't know that I would have even thought to make that comparison, even though I knew it was from the same director.
Okay.
But you're right. Those are far more refined in the way in which they tell a story.
Sure.
There's an entire it's its own genre, so to speak, in that, again, it's very polished, very refined. Right. This was just like, how many fun things can we pack into almost 2.5 hours?
And how many different
and what can we get away with?
And how many different times can we have Sam Rockwell dance? Because it's like,
my gosh.
like about 20 minutes into the movie, I lean over to my son and I say, just so you know, like, Sam Rockwell, he dances in all his movies. That's kind of his thing. His thing is to just like take a moment and dance. And then there's like 5 more scenes throughout the movie where he dances. It's like, I think we're overdoing the dancing now.
This was definitely they went in knowing they were going to make fun of that, or tease it out as hey, look what we're doing.
And that's what I will say about this movie. This movie has lots of things like that, where it's like, oh look, it's something fun and interesting. Isn't that good? Okay, it was fun and interesting. Is it still fun and I don't think it's fun and interesting anymore. Like,
it goes long. So many of the sequences, they do go a bit too long. So
all of the sequences go a bit too long. And the other thing I will say, and I'm getting the negative stuff out early because I want to focus on the positive. But the other negative I will say is, and I say this a lot, I do not like criticizing special effects. Like, I'm a firm believer that without computer visual effects, I would not get to see as many awesome fun movies as I do today. Are they overused? Yes, they are overused. I will grant that. However, I'm not one to complain about their overuse. This movie really overdid it. Like, and not good. And like the second Matrix movie level, here's my thing is, do not have real people in a movie and then have extended fight scenes where the real people in the movie have to be CGI'd through the entire scene. When you do that, it doesn't work. And there are multiple scenes in this movie where that happens, and none of those scenes work.
Gotcha.
For me.
Me, I can see past that. You're
even more forgiving than I am. I'm super forgiving.
Yeah.
The one scene I'm thinking about it feels like a setup like you get from the first Kingsman movie, where he's trapped in the church and he starts going ballistic, and it's just a big slaughter scene in the church. There's a scene where they go ice skating, and it's an extended, and it's just like that scene is 5 minutes too long, and it's a 6-minute scene.
And as far as the whole CGI point you're making, you can't get that scene without that, which is why it feels so heavy-handed, right? Yeah. Because listen, that whole sequence, I literally remember when it ended, I remember thinking to myself, maybe it's just the mood I'm in right now, but on any other day, that probably would have annoyed me. Yeah. Because it is very overwrought. It's very overdone. Yeah. But it was funny, and I enjoyed it because for me, the overall experience was so much fun that I found myself forgiving that. And just, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I laughed during that sequence because it was so ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous.
I don't think Matthew Vaughn wants us to take his movie that seriously. You know,
it's obvious that it's not supposed to be. Now we're gonna get to the to the positive. This is probably the most ridiculous movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
Of all time. It surpasses Hudson Hawk in ridiculousness for me.
It 100% surpasses it. It watched Hudson Hawk and says, I think we could do this, but
we could do better.
Not better, because I would rather sit down and watch Hudson Hawk than this.
Oh no, indeed. But, I'm with you. Yeah.
Holy shit, it is so over the top and delicious. It's over the topness. And God bless all of the people who showed up to be in this movie. And absolutely took it seriously. Bryan Cranston doing doing work.
Catherine
O'Hara doing an accent. Please don't ever do an accent.
Yeah, seriously.
You are not good at accents.
I found myself wanting more Catherine O'Hara in this movie. I'm not gonna lie.
Without the accent.
Well, sure.
And Samuel Jackson is showing up. And of course, look, we've had conversations about Sam Rockwell before.
Oh yeah.
You and I are founding members of the Sam Rockwell fan club.
Oh, indeed.
He just eats this fucking movie up. And just is having so much fun. And it is because he is having fun that I am having fun. And I know people are going to bag on this movie, and I know people are going to dislike this movie, and I know it's going to get bad reviews. And it made $17 million over the weekend. And it cost $200 million to make, and it's not going to reach $100 million just because this is a movie that 5 years ago gets to 250 million just for opening up on a weekend like that. All it had to do was open up, and it gets to 250 million. And that's just not. People are far more discerning. Like people will still go see movies, but they're not. People have decided, you know what? I'm not going to just go see anything.
And you know what? Let me take us down a real quick rabbit trail based on what you just said, because it's something you and I have often talked about what going to the movies has been like post-pandemic.
Yeah.
And I think even now, a couple of years later, we're still seeing it isn't even, I feel like people's palates have changed almost too much, because there's so much that the pandemic did to sort of set our the way we look at things is so based on realism that we can't release ourselves from that enough to enjoy a movie like this anymore.
Right. Yeah, that's fair.
And it makes me sad, because obviously a director like Matthew Vaughn says, fuck it, I'm going to make the film I want to make.
Yeah.
And the fact that it is going to go down as a flop, I think in the next few years, it's going to gain a lot of traction and become the latest cult hit.
Potentially.
I guess it just makes me sad, because I think that people have become hardened, and it affects how they choose to think about movies to the point where they don't give movies a chance.
Right.
And that's a little commentary on my part. Because this kind of movie for me is what movies are sometimes meant to be. Just fun.
Right. And it really is just fun. I think maybe he felt like people were taking his Kingsman movies too seriously.
Oh, after the third one, sure.
And so he was like, well, fuck this. I'm just going to do this because this is what I want. And the the end result is a movie, and I'm glad you brought up Hudson Hawk, because that really is the best comparison. Is a movie that just it's going to have a hard time finding an audience until
Oh
it
yeah,
gets
yeah.
into enough headspace. That it's a shame that it's going to end up on Apple Plus and not Netflix, because I feel like on Netflix people would watch the hell out of this movie.
Absolutely. No, that's a great point. That's a great point, because I still don't go to Apple Plus as much as I probably should.
Right. Right.
So
and another movie I'll compare it to is Joe versus the Volcano. It's that kind of ridiculous
yeah,
fun.
I see that.
Like, who are these characters? What is going on? I don't care. It's super fun. I'm in.
You're right.
Like, and yeah.
Yeah.
You're not watching this movie to make sure you catch everything that could potentially win an Oscar in 2020.
No, not at all.
Like,
no, that's what I mean when I say people have become a little too hardened in how they choose to see movies or watch movies, and I understand the world has been such that we become more realists.
Yeah.
But it just, I hope that changes, because movies like this, like you said, 5 years ago, easy money.
Yeah.
Just on the weight of the cast alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I forget how you feel about Bryce Dallas Howard, but I thought she was phenomenal in this film. I loved watching her work.
Yeah. It was interesting. I can't. Anything I would say would spoil the movie. So I will just say, I really liked her in the first 2 acts of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I got you.
And I think that though the first 2 acts suit her that aspect of the character suits her perfectly. Where I'm going to bring up another ridiculous movie, also starring Samuel L. Jackson. That might be a mild spoiler for this movie, but The Long Kiss Goodnight. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, absolutely.
Geena Davis.
Yeah.
Like, let's just say Bryce Dallas Howard is not Geena Davis.
Sure.
How's that?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I love that they went for it.
For sure.
I mean, I absolutely, I love everything about how this movie played out, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because there is definitely a I don't even know if perhaps that's a personal callback to that.
Right.
But there's definitely a difference. So yeah, I can see that.
All right. Rankings. You go first.
Okay. This is 3 great tacos plus a lot of guac.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I was gonna go 4, but as a couple of days removed from it, I do have to, I think 4 is reserved for, if I'm going to give The Promised Land 4 and guac.
Yeah,
I can't give this movie 4.
Yeah,
but the kind of 3 plus guac that when this thing goes to streaming, I'm gonna watch it again. I've already told Jen we're watching it together. Like it's fun
for sure,
and that's what I want out of movies. I love movies like The Promised Land. I want to see the movies that are getting nominated for Best Picture and so forth. But there are just times where I want to have fun. And this movie did it for me. Yeah.
So my scale is 3 tacos and more. I will almost definitely watch it again. Like the scenario where I won't watch a movie that gets more than 3 tacos is if the subject matter is just so heavy that I can't personally fathom a scenario where I'll be in the headspace that I will want to watch it again. But I recognize that this is a fantastic movie. So 3 tacos or more, I'll want to watch again. 2 tacos plus guac or less. I'm not going to watch it again, but 2 tacos plus guac is a good movie. This movie I will watch again. So I'm going 3 tacos, but these are Taco Bell tacos. These are not like, these are not Rocco's Tacos or anything like that, or, street tacos, tacos. This is 100% empty calorie Taco Bell tacos.
Hey, but there's a place for that.
There is. I agree.
So.
Well, Sergio, I hope you have 5 minutes because I'm holding you captive.
Go for it.
How would you like to hear about a movie starring Robert Pattinson?
Yeah.
and Mia Goth.
Really?
Yes.
What am I not knowing about?
What the hell did I just watch?
Oh, I do know this title.
High Life. All right.
I do know
Sergio.
this title.
So this is interesting. This is a movie that I didn't stumble upon it, but like I saw it recommended. This was one of those where I saw it recommended in one of my movie groups on Facebook, and it was just like, this sounds really interesting, and it has Robert Pattinson and Mia Goth, and the person who's reviewing it says it's a little bonkers. I think this will be a what the hell did I just watch? And so this is the perfect example of one of those what the hell did I just watch, is that like in the end, like if I was going for maximum weirdness, I would definitely have like just gone back and watched something else.
Sure.
But I don't do that. Like I just take what I get, and I move forward. And it's weird enough because it has Mia Goth in it that it qualifies. So
Yeah.
and also like everything that you can say about this movie to describe it sounds absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so here's the concept of the movie. They are sending ships out to explore the far reaches of the universe, of the galaxy. Okay, so the outside of the solar system, they're sending ships outside of the solar system, and the ships, because they're never going to be able to come back and all that sort of thing, the ships are manned and operated and everything by convicts. Like they're taking convicts, specifically young convicts that will live like that are healthy, that will live a while, so that they'll be able to send back information for as long as humanly possible.
Yeah.
And they're sending them way out to the far reaches of space, and things go exactly as you would imagine they would probably go if you send a whole bunch of convicts out into space.
Gotcha.
In addition to Mia Goth and Robert Pattinson being two of the convicts, it also features Juliette Binoche. I mean, all time for you and me, for men of a certain age. Let me tell you, Juliette Binoche means something.
Oh yeah,
and this is worth the watch for Juliette
Indeed.
Binoche. She plays the doctor, like sort of like the medic of the group, but also is also a convict. And we find out what her crime is, and it's terrible.
Goodness.
Andre 3000's in this also. He's super fun and lighthearted and awesome. Have you you've seen Moon, right?
Of Sam we talked about it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. We didn't talk about it. It's very much in that vein. This movie is very much in the vein of Moon, where it's a high concept, low budget sci-fi movie. Like for example, the way they create gravity on this ship instead of having the big 2001 spiral wheel is that they create gravity by constantly accelerating. The ship is always accelerating, and so therefore, it's basically a Borg cube, and and moving in the direction so that it's forcing people down and into the floor. And so like everybody's basically traveling with their heads pointed this way constantly, and but they never, there's no windows on this ship, so it's not like they ever noticed it. As a high concept, low budget sci-fi movie, this is super fun in the most perverse and terrible ways.
Wow. I have to look into it, because the reason I know the title, Paul, is because I shared, I think it was last week, I shared with you, I've been going down the rabbit hole of YouTube, and Robert Pattinson did an episode of a series where they have actors run through their iconic roles.
Okay.
And this was a movie he spoke of, and it was very brief, but I remember thinking to myself, okay, that looks awesome.
Yeah, it's on Max. Check it out.
Okay, I'll check it out.
100% check it out.
Yeah.
It's definitely bonkers. The other crazy thing about this movie, the other thing that is really difficult to get through on this movie is that it doesn't follow a straight timeline. It's like it's constantly hopping back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth.
Sure, of course.
Luckily, the movie opens with just Robert Pattinson and his infant child on the ship, and so when there's anybody else on the ship that okay, we're
back
back
where
in
we
time.
yeah.
Yeah, we're back in time. And so and yes, eventually you find out who the mother of his child is and all that sort of fun stuff. So but yeah, it's demented fun.
Got it.
It is definitely demented fun. I
I will
recommend that.
definitely check it out. I'm glad it's on Max because it'll be easy to find.
Yes, super easy to find.
Nice.
That's all I got for you this week, Sergio.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you always letting me visit. I sent you my list for the year, so
You
I'll
did
be
send me
seeing
the
you
list
more.
for the year, and I'm sure you'll hop on more often. Do you
Yeah.
have your Dune tickets yet?
No, I need to get those. But I know that I plan to go. In fact, Nick Kramer and I have we're making our plans to go.
Of course.
I'm very much looking forward to that conversation because it was so great to listen to you and Kristen last week a bit, and the fact that we're all three going to talk about it is exciting for me.
Yeah, it's super exciting.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I saw the first trailer for Furiosa, which you and I plan to go to together. So
yep.
Looking forward to that.
Yes. My son will be joining us.
Nice. That's nice. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Great.
Awesome.
All right, Sergio, thank you so much for coming on. We'll see
Paul.
you. I think Dune.
Couple weeks.
Dune is the next. So
yeah.
I think.
Absolutely.
Hey everybody, I'll be back next week, obviously. I'm probably doing Amy Frankenstein. I'm not 100% sure. There are 2 movies coming out this week that I'm interested in. I'm not going to have a chance to do 2. I'm only doing 1, but we'll figure it out. Sergio, pleasure as always. Thank you, Paul. Can you sign us off, please?
Absolutely. On behalf of Paul and I, we thank you all so much for watching Real to Real Talk. And we remind you, as we always do, you're awesome. You're amazing. And the world's a better place because you are in it.
Yes.
We'll see you next time.
Rock on, kids. All right. Have a good one.